The last thing you want to happen after the lockdown is losing your job. Hi, welcome to Practical Wisdom. This is the first episode of our free training, and we're going to talk about the realities of the effects of the global crisis we're facing now. And one of them is the likelihood of people losing their jobs. It's happening all over the world, from airlines to banks, manufacturing companies, big food chains, and lately, the world's most popular amusement park, Disney. They are all laying off people, and the list continues. Now, why all of this is happening will be discussed in a separate video to help you have a big picture understanding of where we're headed. People are talking about depression, and then there's recession. What's the difference between the two? And so many would like to know, when will we finally see some economic recovery? But going back to our topic, beyond just talking about the new normal we will soon be facing once this lockdown is eventually lifted, it's about time we decide to come out of this crisis on the winning side, be proactive, and come up with a game plan. This is the purpose of this video. The number one go-to tool for any organization going through a financial crisis is the implementation of austerity measures. Companies will be forced to make difficult decisions, and one of them is the painful process of having to let go of people. Today, we're going to share with you 5 key tips to help you get that fighting chance and not lose the job that you have right now. The number one tip is to magnify your value. As an employee, you will have to prove to your companies, especially your bosses, that they cannot afford to lose you. You will have to step up, take the lead, and get noticed. Be available and willing to help out however you can and contribute as much as you can in achieving company goals. Now is the time for you to show off other skills you may have that can be helpful for the company. And be prepared to take on other people's jobs, as companies will move towards having a much leaner workforce. Remember those times when you hated multitasking? Now I'm telling you, you have to start falling in love with it. If you can show your boss, your manager, or your supervisor that the value you provide is way more than what they're paying you, then it will be very hard for them to let you go. The second tip is be optimistic. The last thing you should bring to the table is negativity and drama. All of us are going through difficulties in trying to cope with the sea of changes and uncertainty, or a tsunami of changes and uncertainty, if you will. Be a person who genuinely believes that things will get better because you're willing to put in the work needed to make things happen. When you're optimistic, it will be easier for you to tame fear, doubt, and anger as they start to creep in. You will develop the natural tendency to focus on the things needed to win for the company. The rest will follow. Let me share with you a story about how optimism works. Picture it, 2 different people having to attend important meetings. While driving along the highway, both of them got flat tires. You know those times when you could not afford for things to go wrong and they do go wrong? This is one of those curse-worthy moments. The first person got so upset, cursed, screaming, pounding on the steering wheel repeatedly, and started calling his friends, asking for help. But none of his friends could come to his rescue, as it was rush hour. He said to himself, "Why can't people understand that I have a problem? I need help. Why is this happening to me? Why me?" The second person had the same reaction, screamed, cursed, banged on the steering wheel repeatedly. But after 5 minutes, he stopped, took a deep breath, put the gear on neutral, and started pushing. It was hot that day. It was hard, but he kept pushing. And inch by inch, the car started to move, headed towards the nearest gasoline station. Passers-by noticed, and one of them asked him if he needed help. And he said, "Yeah, I got a flat tire." So this person decided to pull over and started to help him pushing the car. Others followed suit. The next thing you know, you've got 8 to 10 people helping to push the car, and they're gaining great speed and reach the gasoline station in no time. Yay! So, what am I trying to say here? People like to help people who help themselves. If you want to keep your job, you have to fight for it. And it's hard to fight if you let yourself be paralyzed with negativity. Optimism is the source of inexhaustible power. In fact, it is your superpower. So tap into it, cultivate it, and use it. The third tip is upgrade yourself. Look, we literally have so much time in our hands right now as we're forced to stay in our homes. So use it wisely. Use it to retool yourself by learning and transforming to power up. When all of this is over, when the dust settles, so to speak, and you did not prepare, then you would have lost the precious opportunity to become more valuable to the company you belong to. So, invest in your improvement. It doesn't have to cost money. Start with the free videos on this channel. And if things do take a turn for the worse, should the lockdown last longer than expected, then with the upgraded skills, you'll be in a better position to pivot and adapt because of your newfound confidence brought about by your new competence. The fourth tip is to protect relationships. Any help you can get will mean so much during these trying times. Your most important motto right now should be make no enemies. Everybody needs to see you as a team player. So be more empathetic. Take time to truly understand the people that you work with. You can't afford to lose out on opportunities just because you're not in good terms with your coworker. But what if you do have a few people you have problems with? Well, now is the time for you to reach out and make amends. You might be surprised to discover that people are actually more than willing to patch things up. Oftentimes, issues remain unresolved because nobody made the first move. To help you build bridges, we will come up with a separate video on how to increase your power and influence at work. When you understand the psychology of relationships in the workplace, it will make your life a lot easier. And the fifth and final tip, and personally, I think is the most important, do not complain. Yes, you heard me right. Do not complain. Just don't. Remember, Everyone is going through some form of pain during this crisis, especially the bosses. They're the ones who are going to make the difficult and critical decisions to steer the company into safety and survival. They will need to have someone with a motivating presence to lean on. Just imagine the effect on a boss coming from a stressful meeting, being bombarded with complaints from employees, complaints about difficult clients, complaints about the economy, complaints about whatever is going wrong with the company, blah, blah, blah. Don't be that person. Be the person who brings positive energy to the table. If you need to bring up a problem with your boss, make your own analysis first and come up with suggestions. That way, you don't come off as complaining. Instead, you come off as someone who is informative and solution oriented. When you do that, people will notice. And when the time comes for management to start conversing and deciding who will stay and who needs to go, it will be based on who can help the company get through this crisis. But if you're offering more value, if you're the source of light amidst negativity, if you've upgraded your skills, and if you don't have any enemies waiting to get you at the first opportunity, and if you're solution oriented, then you will be the last to go. And those people who do nothing or do the opposite of the 5 things I just shared with you here, they will be the first to go. Of course, this doesn't guarantee that you don't lose your job at all, because there will be people who will be losing their jobs even if they do everything right, because someone from management made the decision through no fault of their own. In other words, you have 2 choices. You can decide to wait it out and hope for things to go back to the way they used to be. But you will risk losing to people who have decided to prepare and fight for their place in this new world that has been forced upon us. Or decide now to transform yourself and start building the future that you desire. Let us all make the right choice. Remember, things will get better when we get better. That's it for our first episode. Thank you for watching. What do you think is the most important among the 5 tips I just shared with you? Let me know. I would love to hear from you. And if you have any topics that you would want us to feature on our next videos, comment down below. We'll do our best. This is Practical Wisdom, signing off.